Greetings, fellow trekkers and trekkers. We'll look at Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 6 now continues on with In the Pale Moonlight. Captain's personal log. Stardate 5174. Computer, what day is it? Stardate 51721.3. It's been only 2 weeks. I need to talk about this. I have to justify what's happened, what I've done, at least to myself. I can't talk to anyone else, not even to Dax. Maybe if I just lay it all in my log, it'll finally make sense. I could see where it all went wrong, where I went wrong. I suppose it started 2 weeks ago. I was posting the weekly casualty list in the wardroom every Friday morning. For the past 3 months, I posted the official list of Starfleet personnel killed, wounded, or missing in the war. It's become something like a grim ritual around here. Not a week goes by that someone doesn't find the name of a loved one, a friend, or an acquaintance on that damn list. I've grown to hate Fridays. On this Friday, Lieutenant Commander John C. Dax discovers a longtime friend, Leslie Long, was lost with all hands aboard the USS Cairo. Presumably, the Cairo was ambushed while patrolling the Romulan neutral zone by a Dominion patrol that passed around in space. A common occurrence, because the Romulans have a non-aggression pact with the Dominion and are willing to turn a blind eye to Dominion forces crossing their borders. Dr. argues that bringing the Romulans into the war would be advantageous to the Federation war effort. The combined might of the Federation, the Klingon Empire, and the Romulan Star Empire will allow them to finally go on the defensive against the Dominion. Dax, however, replies that the Romulans are currently in a perfect position and have no reason to with anyone. As Sisko's luck continues, that was the one who made the decision. It was like I had stepped through a door and locked it behind me. I was going to bring the Romulans into the war. Initially, Sisko's objective seems unattainable, as staying neutral is clearly in the Romulans' best interests. While Dax replaces the Romulan Pro-Council in a mock debate, Sisko determines how to get them into the war on the Federation's side. Dax argues that while the Romulans might distrust the Dominion has thus far honored its side of the non-aggression pact. Even if the Jem'Hadar keeps intruding into Romulan space, they're doing so to attack the Federation, which Romulans don't necessarily consider a bad thing. Sisko argues that the Founders will eventually consider the Romulan Empire a threat, and that if the Romulans stand by and allow the Dominion to defeat the Federation and its allies, they will inevitably become its next conquest. Dax concludes by stating that in order to break their treaty and enter the war on the Federation side, the Romulans said will need solid proof that the Dominion intends to betray them. Ending the debate with a joking comment, Dax would have made a good Romulan. Sis agrees that they need hard evidence of Dominion treachery, but knows that any such evidence is likely to be held at Dominion headquarters on Cardassia Prime. Sisko contacts Salim Garrick because of his skills at retrieving highly classified and guarded information, namely, secret Dominion war plans that Sisko can employ in convincing the Romulan government. With apparent reluctance, Garrick agrees. After knowing that it would involve the expenditure of all Dominion resources on Cardassia Prime, it may well turn out to be altogether a very messy and bloody business. Sisko reminded him that the war is a messy and bloody business, and is prepared to do anything to accomplish his objective. As his log continues, my father used to say that the road is paved with good intentions. I laid the first stone right there. I'd committed myself. I'd pay any price, go to any lengths, because my cause was righteous. My intentions were good. In the beginning, that seemed like enough. If there's one thing I learned over the years, it's that bad news invariably comes in the middle of the night. That night, Sisko's woken by Major Kira and learns that Dominion has conquered Beta Z in under 10 hours. Thanks to plan's antiquated defenses and the 10th Fleet being caught out of position, the Dominion forces have attacked from the Calandra sector, which Starfleet intelligence had previously insisted was too far from Dominion supply lines to be a threat. Now the Dominion are in a prime strategic position to strike several key words, including Alpha Centauri, Endor, Solar Prime, and Vulcan. This development makes Sisko even more determined, and in 3 days' time, inquires of Garrick concerning his progress. Garrick has spoken with several Cardassian operatives willing to assist in the mission, but each and every one has still been killed within a day of communicating with him. Garrick bids the captain not to give up and, with an almost unerring enthusiasm, proposes that, since it's now clear that they'll never be able to get a hold of the evidence they need, they should go about personally manufacturing it. Maybe I should have put a stop to it right there. Maybe I should have said, "Thank you very much for input, Mr. Garrick. I will take your suggestion under advisement. and go back to my office and forget the whole thing. But I didn't, because in my heart, I knew that he was saying made sense. Garrick proposes that Cisco invite Senator Vreenak, a high-ranking and well-respected member of the Romulan Senate, to Deep Space Nine, so the Senator will be passing by in a few days following a meeting with Mayun on Sukara. Vreenak negotiated the Romulan non-aggression pact of the Dominion and is an outspoken supporter of it. He is also known for his low opinion of the Federation. If Cisco can persuade him to join the war, Garrick insists, the rest of the Romulan Senate will follow. Joe Farrell planned to show Vreenak a fabricated recording of a secret, high-level Dominion meeting in which Dominion officials discussed their plan to conquer the Romulans. To ensure that Vreenak believes it, they would use a Jodo-Cardassian optitholic data rod, as well as a good cover story about how Starfleet obtained it. Cisco points out that he'll need approval from Starfleet to proceed with the plan, but Kirk assures him that the fall of Beta said they should be more willing to approve the plan, which ultimately they do. The first thing that Cisco needs to do is get Granthon Tolar, an expert in holographic forgery, released from a Klingon prison while he is awaiting execution. Cisco is able to influence Chancellor Gowron to pardon him, whereupon explains to Tolar that the conditions of his parole are that he must create a special holographic program for him. Tolar at first assumes that he has created a special program for Cisco's own use and suggests Orion's slave girls. But Tolar soon realizes the hazardous nature of the assignment once Garrick is involved, but ultimately agrees, as the alternative is to be executed by the Klingons. And Cisco's law continues. Why I didn't listen to the voice in the back of my mind so not to believe what he said, I'll never know. But it didn't take long for me to come face to face with the fact that I had made a mistake. While working in his office that evening, Cisco receives communication from Cisco receives a communication from Odo over comm saying that Tolar has just tried to kill Quark. According to Odo, Tolar got drunk at Quark's and solicited a dance with Impella, one of the Dapple girls. When she refused and Tolar tried to force the issue, Quark attempted to intervene on her behalf, and Tolar stabbed him. Odo adds the only reason Tolar isn't in a holding cell is because he's claiming to be a friend of Cisco's. Cisco refutes the claim, but admits Tolar's working for him on a matter related to Starfleet security. It says he can't have any official record of Tolar's presence on the station. Surprised, Odo warns that if Quark decides to press charges, he will be legally required to arrest Tolar. Cisco speaks to Quark, who, pleasantly surprised that Cisco is willing to offer him a bribe, agrees not to press charges in exchange for compensation for his lost profits. Specifically, 5 bars of gold-pressed platinum and damaged clothes, on his and Impella's. Also that some merchandise of rather dubious legality be released from the security lot where it is currently impounded due to a missing import license. Cisco, between a rock and hard place, approves all these requests, and delighted Quark thanks the captain not only for so many profitable concessions, but because this blatant act of bribery has reaffirmed his faith in the 98th World of Acquisition. Every man has his price. Cisco's law continues. That was my first moment of real doubt. I started to wonder if the whole thing was a mistake. So I went back to my office, and there was a new casualty list waiting for me. People are dying out there every day. Entire worlds are struggling for their freedom, and here I am still worrying about the finer points of morality. No, I had to get my eye on the ball. Winning the war, stopping the bloodshed, those were the priorities. So I pushed on, and every time another doubt appeared before me, I just found another way to shove it aside. The next step of the plan is to obtain a general Cardassian data rod. After looking at Children's quarters with a credible threat that attempting to escape may kill him, Garrick intercepts Odo en route to Ops and informs the captain that, by some minor miracle, he has found a cellar. Unfortunately, the price is quite high. 200 liters of biomimetic gel, a dangerous and heavily controlled substance. Cisco first rejects the price outright, but Garrick insists the cellar won't accept anything else, and finding another rod will be quite impossible. Cisco then seemingly decides to drop the whole plan. After a few seconds, changes his mind and tells Garrick that 200 liters is far too high a price, and there is not enough gel in the dangerous sector to fulfill that request. Garrick assures Cisco he should be able to haggle it down to something more reasonable. Later, Cisco asks Dr. Bashir in his office to prepare 85 liters of the gel. However, the doctor refuses, pointing out that they have no idea where it's going and that in wrong hands. Biomimetic gel could be used for exceedingly dangerous and immoral purposes, including the manufacture of biogenic weapons and organic explosives. Cisco gives Bashir a short shrift and makes it a direct order. Bashir says seeing this order in writing. Cisco hands him the order on a pad. Angry and disgusted that his demands was anticipated, no other recourse, Bashir agrees to prepare the gel, but informs Cisco that he intends to note the incident in his log and will file a grievance with Starfleet Medical. The FA Cisco simply orders that the gel be ready within the day and dismisses him. Cisco, Garrick, and Tolar obtain the rod and begin preparing a convincing recording in which Wayne and Damar plan the invasion of Romulus, making sure to have the two squabble with each other over the competence of Damar's predecessor to appear as real as possible. The program is recorded onto the rod, and the forgery is complete. To ensure that Tolar isn't cheating him, though he has already encoded his forgery of the single-use data rod, Cisco detains Tolar. When Tolar protests, insisting he's fulfilled the terms of their agreement, Cisco snarls that his freedom is contingent on the forgery fooling its intended recipient, promising him back to Gowan for execution if the forgery fails to pass inspection. Tolar, who frantically insists the forgery will be accepted, is further nerved when Garrick says he will stop by his quarters later to say hello. As Cisco's law continues, May was under more pressure than I realized. May was really starting to get to me, but I was off the hook. Starfleet Command had given the plan their blessing, and I thought it would make things easier. But I was the one who had to make it happen. I was the one to look Senator Vreenak in the eye and convince him that a lie was the truth. Cisco at this point is getting nervous, and Senator Vreenak comes to the station in a cloaked Romulan shuttle. When no one other than Cisco and Garrick is aware that he's there. Before Cisco greets Vreenak, Garrick tells him he plans to inspect the Senator's ship covertly for anything useful and leaves. Upon arrival in the shuttle bay, Vreenak smugly exchanges greetings with Cisco, taking great pleasure in egotistically dressing him down for how poorly the Federation alliance is faring its war with the Dominion so far. In the wardroom, Vreenak and Cisco discuss the fate of their respective worlds over a replicated bottle of Califal, at which point Cisco tells Vreenak that he has learned the Dominion is planning a surprise invasion of the Romulan Empire. Vreenak naturally demands proof, and Cisco presents the forgery. Vreenak asks to inspect the data rod and, in typical Romulan fashion, takes his time doing so, to which Cisco is understandably anxious. As his law continues, so all you do is wait, and see how masterfully Tolar's forgery really was. So I waited, tried to catch up on my paperwork, but I found it very difficult to focus on criminal activity reports, cargo manifests, so I went back to pacing, staring out of the window. I'm not an impatient man. I'm not one to agonize over decisions once they're made. I got that from my father, who always says, "We're in doubt of the greatest enemies of a great chef. The souffle will either rise or it won't. There's not a damn thing you can do about it, so might as well just sit back and wait and see what happens." But this time the cost of failure was so high, I found it difficult to take his advice. If Vreenak discovered that the data rod was a forgery, if he realized that we were trying to chuck him into the war, it could push the Romans even farther into the enemy camp. They could don't really help the Dominion. If worst came to worst, they could actually join the war against us. I had the distinct feeling that victory or defeat would be decided in the next few minutes. Cisco attempts in vain to calm himself to his by Vreenak. When he enters the wardroom, Vreenak dismisses his guards for angrily telling Cisco that he knows the recording is a fake. So don't blow up in my face. All the lies and compromises, their doubts and the realizations, all for nothing. Vreenak was furious. I can't say I blamed him. I never acted the same way. After telling me no uncertain terms that he would expose this vile deception to the entire Alpha Quadrant, I got back in the shell and headed home. There didn't seem to be anything more to do, so I went back to work. 2 days later, I got the news. Cisco, Dex, and Bashir are currently reviewing a new casual list when Worf comes in and delivers a report from Starfleet Intelligence the Vreenak shuttle has exploded, killing the Senator. When he asks if the Tal Shiar believe the Dominion is responsible, Dax, recalling the previous conversation, gives Cisco a knowing smile. Worf also points out that this event unfolding as it has is a real game changer. The death of Vreenak, who was on a diplomatic mission in Dominion space, could bring the Romulans into the war. Realizing what really has happened, Enraged, Cisco excuses himself and heads straight for the promenade, seething with fury. Storming into Garrick's shop, Cisco greets the tailor with a backhand to the face, sending Garrick sprawling. Cisco accuses him of killing Vreenak, which Garrick immediately admits. Cisco accuses him of having planned to do so all along, that believing the rod would never pass inspection. Garrick only advocated bringing Vreenak to the station when he planned to bomb on his shuttle. Garrick counters that while he didn't hope that the rod would pass Vreenak's inspection, he realized that it was extremely likely that Talar wasn't capable of creating a forgery sufficient to make the deception work. Cisco angrily demands to know if Garrick killed Talar as well. Garrick casually dismisses him as another casualty of war. Outraged, Cisco punches Garrick again, but Garrick insists Vreenak and Talar haven't died in vain, as the Ramblins are sure to enter the war now. Cisco protests he cannot guarantee that, but Garrick lays out his counter-argument. The Telshire will, in the course of the investigation, eventually find the data rod in the wreckage of Vreenak's shuttle. The analysis will confirm it contains a recording of high-level Dominion officials plotting the invasion of Romulus. The damage rod sustained from the explosion masking any imperfections of the forgery. Garrick plainly asked Cisco what conclusion he would draw in the Telshire's position, given the apparent facts. Cisco reluctantly connects the dots. Now knowing about Vreenak's stop at Deep Space Nine, the Ramsel Vreenak obtained the rod during his diplomatic mission on Sukara, and the Dominion assassinated him before he could return to Romulus and expose their treachery. Garrick concurs, adding the Dominion's protests of innocence will further convince the Romulans of their guilt, because it's exactly what the Romulans would have done in their place. Garrick reminds the captain that this is why Cisco came to him for help in the first place, because he knew that Garrick was willing to do things that he couldn't, no matter how distasteful and illegal. The most important thing is that Cisco will achieve exactly what he intended, since in light of the damning evidence against the Dominion, the Romulans will surely enter the war now. Garrick tells Cisco he can salve his conscience with the knowledge he's very likely to just save the entire Alpha Quadrant. Only had to sacrifice the lives of one criminal, an unsympathetic senator, and perhaps self-respect in the process. Garrick tells Cisco that as far as he's concerned, it's a bargain. Cisco's log concludes. At 0800 hours, station time, the Roman Empire formally declared war against the Dominion. There are 15 bases along the Cardassian border, so this is a huge victory for the good guys. This may even be a turning point of the entire war. There's even a welcome to the fight party tonight in the wardroom. So, I lied. I cheated. I bribed men to cover up the crimes of other men. I am accessory to murder. The most tempting of all. I think I can live with it. If I had to do it all over again, I would. Garrick was right about one thing. A guilty conscience is a small price to pay for the safety of the Alpha Quadrant. So, I'm willing to live with it. Because I can live with it. I can live with it. Computer, erase that entire personal log. Dun dun dun. Anyway. So let's take a look at the origins of this episode. The working title of this episode was Patriot. The origins of this episode are found to be in a discussion amongst the writers about various pivotal moments in recent U.S. history. One such moment was the 1964 Gulf of Tonkin incident, where North Vietnamese gunboat allegedly attacked a U.S. naval vessel, leading to increased military presence in Vietnam itself, and effectively beginning the Vietnam War. Another defining moment under discussion was the 1974 Watergate scandal, which began 5 men being arrested for breaking into the Watergate complex and ending with the resignation of President Richard Nixon, who was facing an impeachment in the House of Representatives and conviction in the Senate due to the discovery of, amongst other things, illegal political espionage, improper tax audits, unauthorized wiretapping, and secret funding hidden in Mexico. Thinking of the sheer scale of these incidents and the massive repercussions felt for years afterward by people from all walks of life, the producers asked former staff writer and producer Peter Allen Fields to compose a story based around a political controversy among a secret that, if discovered, could have huge consequences throughout the quadrant. Fields' original premise revolved around Jacob Watergating First Minister Shakar. He discovers and goes secret about Shakar from his days in the Bajoran resistance, which, if it got out, would bring down the Chicago government and throw Bajor into chaos. When Jake tells his father about the secret, Cisco tries to stop him from publishing it. However, when the Severers went to work on Field's story, they couldn't make it work. So they altered the basic premise to Jake discovering something about his own father. Ronald D. Moore compared this premise to the 1978 film All the President's Men. This was the idea around which Michael Taylor composed the first draft of the script. There were conflict between Jake and Cisco. The story began when Jake tries to get an interview with Garrick for the Federation News Service, but Garrick is uninterested in being interviewed. Jake presses him, but Garrick won't budge, and so Jake goes to his father trying to get him to put some pressure on Garrick. However, Cisco tells him to stay away from Garrick altogether. Intrigued, Jake begins to investigate, and he discovers that his father and Garrick are involved in shady dealings and are trying to bring the Romans into the Dominion War by lying to them about the Dominion's so-called plan to evolve Roman space. Michael Taylor is credited for the teleplay of this episode, although much of his contribution did not make the final draft. Taylor did come up with the idea of the fake Dominion rod, basing the idea on the historical Zimmerman Note of 1917, which Germany offered to help Mexico retake the southwest United States to keep America out of World War I. Instead, the American public became enraged by the implications of the telegram, facilitating America's entry into the war against Germany. For a time, the note was thought to be faked in order to convince America to join the war against Germany. In the fake record, while graphically it pointed out that the Romans would expect a Dominion attack based on an aggression treaty, Operation Barbarossa comes to mind. Germany invaded the Soviet Union in World War II. The Soviet Union did not expect Germany to invade, as both countries held an aggression treaty, with a secret supplemental protocol about the division of Poland. By the final draft of the script, which was actually written by an uncredited Ronald D. Moore, Jake had been removed entirely. The reason for this was because the relationship between Jake and Cisco, as established in many episodes over the course of the 5.5 years of the show, was simply too strong. The bond of his father and son had become so pronounced that it was virtually impossible to conceive of anything destroying it. As Moore explains, quote, "It was really a contest between Cisco and Jake, because as much as we want to, try to get those two characters in conflict with each other, so it really didn't ring true. Jake was so young and Cisco was so experienced, he really didn't believe the central conflict of the show," end quote. According to Moore, the title of the episode was a reference to the phrase, "I read Dance with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight," from the 1989 film Batman. Originally, the writers were going to have the Dominion invade Vulcan, not Beta Z. This episode was structured so that, at the moment Cisco begins to waver as to whether or not to carry his scheme through, a planet falls to the Dominion, serving to galvanize his resolve. The rest didn't want to invent a new planet and name something so inconsequential. They wanted a planet that would carry weight for the viewers. That's when they narrowed it down to Vulcan instead of Beta Z. As they initially decided went on. When the race were going to have the Dominion invade Vulcan at Beta Z, the episode was structured so that the moment Cisco has to waver as to whether or not to get scheme through, a planet falls to Dominion, serving to galvanize his resolve. But the writers who want to invent a new planet are named something consequential. They want a planet that will carry weight for the viewers. Unfortunately, they narrowed it down there. But writers wanted to invent a new planet or name something consequential. They want a planet that carry weight for viewers. That's why they narrowed down to Vulcan and Beta Z. They should send a Vulcan, but they changed their minds when they came to the realization that Vulcan just carried too much weight. So anyway, let's take a look at some continuities to writing this episode. One of the ships have been destroyed by the Dominion in this episode is USS Cairo, which previously appeared as the ship of Commander Edward Jellicoe in the Next Generation episode, Chain of Command Part 1 and Part 2. The wreckage is found later The wreck is later found in 2384 in the Delta Quadrant by the Medusan, Zero, and Star Trek prodigies, the Fast and the Curious. The Romulan non-aggression pact with the Dominion, signed in the fifth season, finale called Arms, is referred to numerous times in this episode. Vraynek is on his way back from Sakura when he diverts to Deep Space Nine. Scar is planted and visited by John C. Jackson Worf to rendezvous with the Cardassian double agent Lasara in Change of Heart. This episode echoes Season 5's For the Uniform, where Sisko similarly disregards his own ethical belief system and survey policy in order to capture Michael Eddington. Both episodes were written by Peter Allen Fields. This episode builds on the fifth season episodes The Ship and Nor the Battle Strong. Sorry. It's Vraynek is only back from Sakura when he diverts Deep Space Nine. Scar is supplied and visited by John C. Jackson Worf to rendezvous with the Cardassian double agent Lasara in A Change of Heart. This episode echoes Season 5's For the Uniform, where Sisko similarly disregards his own ethical belief system and survey policy in order to catch Michael Eddington. Both episodes were written by Peter Allen Fields. This episode builds on the fifth season episodes The Ship and Nor Battle Strong, as far as it deals with the notions entering wartime. Strong. Insofar as it deals with notions that during wartime, real people lose their lives every day, and the war has very real consequences. These episodes attempt to convey a sense of the horrors of war and subvert the notion that war is all about exploiting starships and nameless soldiers dying anonymously. The binder list of names are real people, families, and lives. The scene will be revisited once more in the 17th episode, season of AR 558. Sisko will once again be troubled by his own reaction, as in this episode, to the casualty reports sent by Starfleet. Citing Rules of Acquisition number 98, every man has his price. It's revealed in this episode that Beta says it's relatively close to Vulcan, Andoria, Teller Prime, and Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri is the closest star system to Earth, approximately 4.3 light-years distant. It is established in the Star Trek Enterprise episode Home. The Vulcan is approximately 1.6 light-years from Earth. From 6 light-years from Earth. The proximity of all these worlds is further established throughout Star Trek Enterprise. Though also in Enterprise, it is established that the aforementioned worlds, Vulcan, Andoria, and Teller, were, together with Earth, the core of the coalition of planets of the evolving Federation. Also in Enterprise, it's revealed that the aforementioned worlds, Vulcan, Andoria, and Teller, were, together with Earth. The second episode in a row in which William appears only as holographic simulation. The Romulan shuttle is the first new Romulan ship since the Romulan scout ship in the Next Generation episode, The Defector. Exactly what fatal flaw Vraynek discovered in the forgery is never mentioned, but his subsequent success in fooling all the other Romulans is just a physical flaw in the ride itself, rather than any error in the narrative of the forged record. What was clued to him to its being counterfeit. Garrick does note Sisko, however, that any discrepancies found in both the rod and the program will later be written off by the Romulans as being caused by damage from an explosion. Thus, whatever flaw Vraynek discovered is ultimately immaterial. And finally, let's take a look at some behind-the-scenes notes from this episode. This episode is presented in flashback format, with Sisko narrating a log entry in his quarters in the present time, and the bulk of the episode comprising scenes from the narration. Other episodes structured like this are the second season episodes Necessary Evil and Whispers. Like the episode Rules of Engagement, this episode comes close to breaking the fourth wall, with Sisko seemingly talking directly to the camera, and hence the audience. However, there was no direct acknowledgement of the audience in the episode itself. Instead, the viewer merely takes the perspective of the computer to which Cisco dictates its log. The idea for Cisco is slowly addressed as this episode progresses, restoring to Victor Lobies, who saw it as serving a double function. On the one hand, Cisco losing and removing his clothes was simply to convey the passage of time as he paced around the room. And the other is a thematic metaphor for how, 6.0, Cisco during slug, he's literally bearing his soul. The film began on January 27th, 1998. David Bogan posted score for this episode. Author Jeff Braun praised his music. David Bogan posted score of the episode. Author Jeff Braun praised the music. Gryffindor's outfit is a reuse of Richard Kiley's students Gideon Sitiag from Deep Space Nine episode Second Sight. It was also previously used an outfit of Kalan in the Voyager episode episode Dreadnought. Coleman and Kara Lofton do not appear in this episode. So I really do like this episode, and yeah, it's surprising that Cisco had to do all these shady things in order to get the Wormlings in the war, but hey, eventually it worked, so yeah. So overall I give In the Pale Moonlight anyway. So overall, yeah, I think this episode is just really good, and yeah, the fact that Cisco's able to get the Romulans into the war, I mean, that's kind of a good thing, so yeah. So overall, I give In the Pale Moonlight 5 orb cores out of 5. When we 10 minutes, we took the next episode his way. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.